everyone, it's Tony with Hidden Light Photography, and today we're going to learn how to process a narrowband nebula and use natural RGB stars. And we're going to use the data that we collected on IC5070 to do this. So if you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button. I don't want you to miss out on any upcoming content. Now let's jump on in and process IC5070. So to process IC5070 in narrowband and then use RGB stars, the first thing we need to do is open up our master light files. So I went ahead and I just made a folder called IC5070 project, and I have my RGB data as well as my narrowband data. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my RGB data. And we don't need the weight image, so we can just go ahead and close out of those. We'll minimize each of these images and move them off to the side in order to keep the workspace clean and organized. We'll go ahead and open up our narrowband data. And the same thing goes, we don't need our weight images, so we can go ahead and close out of those. We'll minimize our 3 files here and move them off to the side. Now we're going to go into process all processes, and we're going to come down to screen transfer function. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch all 6 of these images. Now, before we move on, I just want to make it known that if you have any questions about anything that you see here, you're more than welcome to drop a comment in the comment section. Also, check out the description of this video because I'm going to have my entire PixInsight series, the video index of it, in the description of this video. And I go over a lot of these processes that you're about to see, as well as a full PixInsight process or workflow tutorial. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to examine all of these images, and we want to pick one that looks the best, has the best contrast, the best image, the most stars is what we're looking for. So we'll go ahead and just open up each of these and see what they look like. Now, in my opinion, S2 here is the best one out of all 6. And we're going to use this as a reference image. Now keep in mind when you're imaging with mono, every channel, every wavelength, RGB, HA, O3, and S2 are all imaged individually. Unlike one-shot color where all color channels are imaged at the same time, mono images separately. And some of these have even been imaged over multiple nights. So you're going to have certain rotational differences. There's going to be little differences in alignment, and that causes what's called stacking artifacts. Now, with that said too, when we're imaging with one-shot color, everything is imaged at the same time, so we won't have that much of an issue with combining images. Mono is not so much the case because, again, everything is imaged individually. So we need to align these 6 images to one another. This is crucial before we move on to the next phase. Now, in my PixInsight workflow tutorials, I mentioned that I like to describe this in 3 parts: correction phase, stretching, beautification. So before we can get to the full-on correction stages, we need to align all 6 of these images. And how we do that is process all processes, and we're going to go down to start alignment. Make sure to reset each time before you use. And what we're going to do is enter in a reference image. In this case, that's going to be our S2 image. Yours may or may not be S2, and that's okay. Just make sure you pick one that has the best signal and has the most stars. So make sure that view is selected. You can select either a file or a view. In this case, we're using view because it's right here on the workspace. And then we're going to click this little triangle. We'll click the drop down and we're going to choose S2. We'll hit OK. And then here, target images, we're going to add views. We're going to select everything except for S2 because S2 is our reference. We'll hit OK, and then we'll hit the circle. And star alignment is going to perfectly align all 6 of these images together. So now, star alignment has aligned all of our images, and I'm just going to go ahead and rename them all for what they are. In other words, O3 here, I'm going to rename to O3. I'll minimize and move off to the side. I have HA, so I'm going to name that HA and minimize and move it off to the side. I have red, minimize, move off to the side. I've got green, and then I have blue. And of course, we have S2. Now that we have our newly aligned images, we no longer need the old files. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring all of these back up so I can easily access them. Now, what we need to do here is recheck for any stacking artifacts or anything that will interfere with our correction process, such as background extraction. Let's go ahead and give each of our images a stretch. Okay, now all of our images are stretched. And what I want to show you here, if we go to red, you see this black mark at the top. It almost looks like red here is rotated to the left, and that's because it is. Remember, star alignment used S2 as a reference image, and in order to perfectly align the images together, red had to be shifted off to the left. And that's what we're going to take care of right now, because these black spots, these black lines, will interfere with dynamic background extraction or automatic background extraction, any kind of background extraction that you do. So what I'm going to do is now find a reference image, the worst image that has the worst black lines. And in my opinion here, green is going to be the worst one. So I'm going to minimize all but green. I'm going to go into process, all processes. I'm going to go to dynamic crop. I'm going to go ahead and draw my cropping box on the image. And I'm going to ensure that my entire bad area will be cropped out. Now, we need all 6 of these images to be cropped identical to each other. And the way we do that is after we have our cropping box all set the way we want it, we'll go to the dynamic crop process window and drag the triangle onto the workspace. We'll then exit out of dynamic crop, And since green in this case is our reference image, we're going to go ahead and minimize green, and that'll be the last image that we crop. So we'll start with HA here. We'll double click on the process icon, hit the green check mark, and then we'll close out of dynamic crop. It's important to close out of dynamic crop each time you crop an image. And now we're on our reference image, so we'll go ahead and crop that one. And then we're just going to go ahead and quickly check our work, make sure that everything is the way it should be. So now that we're all cropped and all 6 of our images match identical with star alignment and cropping, we can move on to the correction stages of our images. Now, I like to work these one at a time, and what I mean by that is I like to work narrowband, and then I like to work the RGB. And the reason is it's less confusing, it saves space on the workspace, and it minimizes potential for mistakes. So what I'm going to do here is open up my RGB files starting with red. I'm going to go and save this. I'm going to create a new folder called RGB crop underscore align. And I'm going to go ahead and save red. I'll go ahead and do the same for green and blue. Now that those are saved, we no longer need them on our workspace. This will clean it up and also minimize potential for mistakes. I'll get rid of the dynamic crop process icon. And now what we're going to do here is do an initial star correction on our HA, O3, and S2 images. We'll go to Process, All Processes. We're going to go to BlurXterminator, make sure Correct Only is checked. And we'll run a Correct Only on HA, O3, and S2. Now the correct only process within BlurXterminator has been completed on our 3 channels. And what I'm going to do from here is do some noise reduction. I'll go to Process, All Processes, go to Noise Exterminator, and I'll go ahead and reduce the noise. Now, what I'm looking for here is not to remove all of the noise. You want to have some noise there. You don't want to completely smooth out the image, but we definitely want to reduce what's here. Now our 3 channels have had noise reduction applied. Now what we can go ahead and do is remove the stars from each image. So for that, I'm going to go to Process, All Processes. I'm going to go to Star Exterminator. I'll leave Generate Star Image and Unscreen Stars checked. Triangle, drag and drop. Now the stars have been removed from all of our images, HA, O3, and S2. Since we're not using these stars, I'm just going ahead and closing them out. Now, we want to just make sure that everything's looking good so far on our image, and we don't have any issues that we need to take care of. And what I mean by that, if we take a look right here on O3, we have a blemish. I'm going to go to Script, SETI Astro, and go to Blemish Blaster. I'm going to do a quick auto AF. I'll zoom out, locate the blemish. Hold down Shift, center my cursor on the blemish, click, hold, and drag. And I'll go ahead and execute. And then I will come down on the image. So it looked like there may have been one more right over here. I'll go ahead and execute that one. And then we'll apply to the main image. And then we'll go ahead and we'll check HA just to make sure that we don't have anything going on there, which we look good. Okay, so now it's time to stretch. So we're going to go ahead and get out of screen transfer function. We can get out of StarExterminator. To stretch this data, I'm going to utilize Generalized Hyperbolic Stretch, or GHS. And the reason I'm using GHS is on this particular data set, I found that the level of control that GHS gives you gives me the best results. So we're going to go to Process, All Processes, and come down to GHS. We'll start with HA. We'll delete the auto stretch. And let's check the background brightness. At the bottom right of my cursor, you'll see X, Y, and K. To get to this, all you do is just simply hover over the background, left click, and hold. Our K value is the brightness, and we see 0.0023. If we zoom in on our histogram, we'll see that our histogram curve is pretty far off the right wall. That's why this value is so high. To fix that, we're going to go to Transformation Type, Linear, and then we'll grab our black point slider and pull it right. And we'll hit Apply and reset GHS. Now if we check, we're at 0.0007. I want to be closer to 0.0003. There's no rhyme or reason for that. It's just what I found worked best with this data set. You'll just have to play around with yours and see what works best for your data set. We'll go ahead and do a linear again, pull it to the right, and we'll keep doing this until we get to 0.0003. We'll do one more adjustment. And now we're at 0.0003. Always make sure to move the mouse around because you want to find the darkest spot. Now what we're going to do here is move our symmetry point slider. And this vertical yellow line represents the last place that we were on as far as the background. Here we see symmetry point 0.000337. Let's move it just a little bit to the left. And now we're at 0.000305. I'll do a micro adjustment by deleting the 5. And now our symmetry point is set and lined up with the darkest part of our background. Next, we'll go ahead and open up a preview, zoom out of the histogram, grab our stretch factor slider, and pull it to the right to start stretching our data. And if you need help with GHS, I do have a tutorial on it, so make sure to check that out. We'll accept our first stretch. And then I'll go ahead and finish stretching all of this data. What I'm going to do is find an area that I can get a little bit more contrast out of, line up my symmetry point slider, and do a stretch factor. I'll use the local intensity to fine-tune my stretch. And this looks pretty good. Now we want to check our background because we need our background on our images to match each other. If they don't, we can get some strange results from it. Here we have 0.0761. So we want to remember that. We're right around in that 0.07 range. So let's go ahead and minimize HA. And let's stretch O3. We'll do this in the same fashion that we did HA. Now we can go ahead and combine our channels. We'll exit out of GHS. We'll go to Process, All Processes, and we'll go to Channel Combination. Now, we want to focus on an HOO palette in this video. So what we're going to do is, for the R channel, we're going to assign HA. And for green and blue, we're going to assign O3. We'll go ahead and hit the circle. And don't worry about the color. We'll go ahead and address that in a moment. First, we can see that there's a little bit of a blemish left over that was not visible in the linear data. Let's go back into SETI Astro's Blemish Blaster. We'll go and apply it to the main image. And let's go ahead and name this HOO. Let's minimize this for just a moment. Another popular color palette is going to be SHO. For that, in place of red, we'll put S2. In place of green, we'll put HA. And blue will remain O3, SHO. Let's go ahead and hit the circle. And here we go. Again, don't worry about the colors. How we do this is we'll go into Process, All Processes. We'll go to Narrowband Normalization. The way to really balance these colors out is with pixel math. But let's do this the easy way. So we'll use Narrowband Normalization. If we open up a preview and we go to SHO, here we can see that the colors are now corrected. And all we have to do is just hit apply. But again, we want to focus on HOO in this video. So let's go ahead and open up HOO. We'll reset Narrowband Normalization, open a preview, and here we see the HOO color palette. Now we can adjust the O3 boost and put it to realistically wherever we want it, wherever we enjoy it being. So I'll go ahead and accept this. And here we have before and after. Now from here, more than likely we introduce some noise, and that's okay. What we're going to do is smooth this out a little bit. We're going to go bring out NoiseXterminator. Now this is very minimal noise, so I'm going to do a very low setting on denoise. 0.6 should do the trick. And then what we're going to do from here is do some sharpening. Now I'm going to go to Process, All Processes, and I'm going to do Multiscale Median Transform. Now, if you've seen my PixInsight workflow tutorials, you'll see that I use local histogram equalization. Now, with this monochrome data and the drizzling factor of 2, this really, I haven't found that necessary. I really only use this on one-shot color. So from here, with the monochrome data at a drizzle factor of 2, I'm going to go into Multiscale Median Transform. This works exactly like multiscale linear transform. It's just working on a different set of wavelets. So what I'm going to do is add a 5th layer, and then on layer 5, I'm going to put 0.025, on layer 4, 0.05, on layer 3, 0.075, and on layer 2, I'm going to put 0.1. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit and triangle, drag and drop. And here it works on the finer details. We'll go before and after. I'm not really sure if the video can pick it up, but the small structures, the tiniest of details, are what get adjusted with median transform. Now what we're going to do is go into process, all processes, and we're going to bring out multiscale linear transform. I'm going to set this up exactly the same, 5 layers. Layer 5 will be 0.025, layer 4, 0.05, layer 3, 0.075, and layer 2, 0.1. We'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit, triangle, drag and drop. And now we have before and after. Before and after. And that's really all of the sharpening that I do on this on monochrome data. Now here we can see that we added some noise, and that happens when you sharpen. So we're going to go back into NoiseXterminator. And this noise is a little bit more severe, so I'm going to do a denoise factor of 0.7. And this just, it takes a feel, it takes practice, and you'll get a feel of what you need to do in order to remove the noise level that you have. And it's not always accurate. It takes some playing around with the data. And that looks pretty good. So now I notice that we have a little bit of a blemish in here that appeared. So I'm going to go into SETI Astro's blemish blaster. And let's go ahead and apply that to the main image. And now we'll zoom back out. And we are ready to adjust some curves. So we're going to go to Process, All Processes, and we're going to go to Curves Transformation. We'll open up a preview, and let's boost some saturation. So now what we're going to do is hop out of Curves Transformation. We'll minimize our HOO IC5070, and we no longer need our original images. Now, all we have left is to create our RGB stars. So we're going to open up the files that we saved earlier with our RGB data. I'll go ahead and just minimize these really quick to organize the workspace. And what we're going to do is continue where we left off. So I'll do an initial star correction on each of the images. I'll go to Process, All Processes, and I'll go to BlurXterminator. We'll do a correct only, triangle, drag and drop. And then we'll do this for red, green, and blue. Next, we need to run a background extraction on all three images. And for that, I'll go to Script, SETI Astro, Automatic DBE. And I'll run SETI Astro's Automatic DBE on all three images, red, green, and blue. Now that we have all three images background extracted, we no longer need our old files. So we can go ahead and get rid of those to save space on the workspace. I'm going to go ahead and rename all of these images since they now have underscore ADBE. I'm just going to go ahead and rename them. So red will be red. Green will be green. And blue will be blue. Next, we need to combine these images. Now, just like using a one-shot color, if we combine these, we'll have a very strong tint, whether it be green, red, or blue. So we're going to go ahead and actually balance our color channels, just like we would with a one-shot color camera, and as I demonstrate in my PixInsight workflow tutorials. We're going to go to Process All Processes, and we're going to go to Statistics. We'll check out blue, which has a mean value of 457, green, which has a mean value of 482, and red, which has a mean value of 386. Now, these images are kind of bright, so what I want to do is keep that in check. I want to tame the brightness, so I'm actually going to use my lowest value channel. So I'm going to use red as my reference channel for linear fit. What I'll do is go to Process All Processes, and I'm going to go to Linear Fit. My reference image is going to be red. And then I'll go ahead and apply the red channel to both green and blue. Now that our channels have been color balanced, we can go ahead and combine them. So we'll go to Process All Processes, and we're going to go down to Channel Combination. We'll reset it, and we'll assign red to red, green to green, and blue to blue. And then we'll hit the little circle. We'll go ahead and process all processes, and we're going to go bring out screen transfer function. We'll do a 24-bit factor stretch. And all of our channels have been combined. Now we no longer need our files, our old files, so we'll go ahead and delete those. And I'm not concerned about how this nebula looks. All we're concerned about are the stars. Now, if you've seen my video on flat field correction, this image was taken at the time that my hydrogen alpha filter came loose, which is what you're seeing here. So, like I mentioned, we're not concerned about the nebula. All we need are the stars here. Now, the next step is to color calibrate the stars. And we're going to use SPCC, or spectrophotometric color calibration, to do this. Now, SPCC needs an astrometric solution assigned to the image, because what it does is it takes the exact location that this image was taken and it assigns the correct color to each and every star based off of the Gaia Observatory database. Now, when we cropped our images, we also lost our astrometric solution. So to reapply that, what we're going to do is go to Script, Image Analysis, and we're going to go to Image Solver. All we need to do here is make sure everything is correct. Now, the pixel size here shows 1.88. I'm using an ASI 2600 mm camera, which has a pixel size of 3.76. Now 1.88 is okay, and that's because this image had a drizzle factor of 2. So everything here is good. We're going to go to search, and we're going to type in IC5070 and click search. We'll go to Pelican and choose IC5070, hit OK, and OK. Now we have an astrometric solution assigned to the image. So what we're going to do here is go to Process All Processes, and we're going to go down to Spectrophotometric Color Calibration. From here, we're going to choose our QE curve, which is going to be our sensor. And then our red filter, we're going to choose what we used. In this case, Sony Mono Optolong R for red, Sony Mono Optolong G for green, and Sony Mono Optolong B for blue. Now, in my spectrophotometric color calibration tutorial, I go over exactly how to set this up and how to get the entire filter database, as well as create your own filters if you need them. Next, we need to get a background on the image, and for that, I'm going to use SETI Astro's Find Background. I'll go ahead and click Search. And SETI Astro's script went ahead and assigned a background. Now we're going to go to Region of Interest, go to From Preview, and select the background that the script assigned. We'll take the triangle, drag and drop. We'll exit out of spectrophotometric color calibration, delete the preview, and go ahead and stretch. And SPCC has now assigned the natural colors to every single star in this image. Next, we need to run the full BlurXterminator. And to do that, we need a grayscale image. So we're going to go ahead and extract the luminance. We'll do a quick stretch, go to Script, Image Analysis, and FWHM eccentricity, full width, half max eccentricity, and then we'll click Measure. And here we have a median full width half max of 4.524. I'm going to go ahead and round this to 4.525. Now, usually if my number's above 2, maybe 3, I'll round it up. Otherwise, if it's 2 or less, I'll go ahead and round it down. So in this case, 4.524 will round to 4.53. So we're going to use that number in BlurXterminator. We'll go to Process All Processes, BlurXterminator. We'll uncheck Correct Only. Make sure Automatic PSF is unchecked, and that allows us to plug in a number for PSF diameter. Here's where we'll go ahead and plug in 4.53. Triangle, drag and drop. And now our stars are 100% corrected. We have before and we have after. Now I'm going to go ahead and run denoise. So I'm going to go to Process All Processes, Noise Exterminator. I'll put this to a denoise of 0.8 just because of the level of noise. Now, even though we're not using the nebula, we still get a little bit of benefit in the stars, which I want to take advantage of. And now we can go ahead and remove the stars. So we'll go to Process All Processes, and we'll go down to Star Exterminator. Leave Generate Star Image and Unscreen Stars checked, triangle, drag and drop. And now we have the RGB stars that are color corrected that we're going to be using in our IC5070 image. Since we're not doing anything with the nebula, we're going to go ahead and close out. We're going to exit out of BlurXterminator and screen transfer function. To stretch these, I'm going to go ahead into Script, SETI Astro, and go to Star Stretch. I'll go ahead and execute. Now, you can always use these sliders to adjust. I have not found any need to adjust these. It actually does a very good job, so I'm just going to go ahead and execute, but you're more than welcome to play with the parameters. And here's our stars, stretched and ready to go. The only thing that's left is we need our star image name to match our primary image. So all we need to do is change the star image name to HOO_stars. Now this is case sensitive. Since HOO in our primary image is capitalized, we need HOO capitalized here. Stars back formula within pixel math has _stars where stars is lowercase. So the target image is HOO, and then we're going to be applying the target image HOO_stars. We'll go ahead and open HOO, triangle, drag and drop. And here's IC5070. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did and want to help support the channel, check out that join button and consider becoming a Hidden Light Photography member. There's lots of perks in it for you, and your support helps me create more content to help you along the way. Also, do me a favor, that channel icon that popped up, hit that channel icon and subscribe. I don't want you to miss out on any upcoming content. Drop a comment in the comment section. Do you have any questions? Did you learn anything new? And then, check out that next video. Until the next time, clear skies.